Well, hello there. I'm in Strathyre, and today we're going up a hill that overlooks the village. I was going to say a small hill. It's not that small. It's a kind of middle-sized hill. It's not a mountain. I think it's over 500 metres, something like that. So there's a wee bit of height involved. I don't think there's any scrambling. I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward donder up through woodland, then up onto the top of the hill. And once there, we should get pretty decent views down onto Loch Lubnaig and perhaps down onto other areas of this part of Scotland. Wee bit of drizzle at the moment. Is forecast to clear, but it's absolutely beautiful. There's little dods of mist floating about the shop. And that's where we're going. It's adventure time. Very steep. It's a good wide track through the forest here, but steep. I've not been up this hill before, so this is a first for me. I have come pretty close to it, at least once, possibly twice, and on one of those occasions the plan for the day had been to go to the top, but just the way the day panned out, I had already kind of walked a bit and done a bit, and I was just very tired, fatigued as it were, and I thought, no, I'll give it a miss. So as I say, this is a first. I'm very much looking forward to it. And I think by the time we got up there, some of this very, very, very light drizzle and mist will have gone. Or maybe it won't. Because it's always nice to see a bit of mist that can add something immeasurable to a bit of footage or a photograph, you know. Anyway, let's be on our way. We markers end here. Are you properly equipped? Well, this is essentially the top of that hill, whose name I can never remember. I mean, there's a kind of, it's a little bit indistinct in that there's a few bumps. It may well be the case that that bump just over there is a wee bit higher, but this'll do for me, you know. And I've decided to sort of stop for something to eat on this side of the hill because there's a wee bit of wind. I got a train this morning from Glasgow to Stirling, and I'm going to have another go at ScotRail because there are times where I find their behaviour simply astonishing. How they get away with some stuff, I don't know. I needed to use the toilet between getting off the train and getting a bus, and there wasn't that much time, so I thought I'll use the disabled toilet because it's on that side of the platform. It saved me a couple of minutes and going over the bridge and so on and so forth. And if you've got a rucksack, there's a wee bit more room in the disabled toilet. So I went to use it, pushed the kind of the button to open the door, it wouldn't open. I thought, well, maybe somebody's in it. But after a while I went to the guy and he was saying, well, look at the little circle, if it's vertical, it's this, and if it's that, it's... And I thought, right, okay. And I think it was vertical, and I couldn't remember what it said. I went back, and vertical meant there's nobody in it. He said, have you tried the door? So I went back to the toilet, and I eventually managed to open the door. It took superhuman strength, because this is a door that didn't want to be manually opened. It wanted to be automatically opened, but the automatic button wasn't working. So I got into the toilet, did my business, and went to wash my hands. There was no soap in the dispenser, not even a little kind of drop or a trickle. It was dry, bone dry. It had been checked in a long time. And of course, as I left, I told them, I mean, you know, I sometimes think in this country we treat disabled people despicably. You know, we've heard of any number of instances with airlines where they lose the person's wheelchair, or the disabled person's left sitting on the plane hours after everybody else has left. It's just unbelievable stuff. I mean, that toilet should be checked first thing in the morning every day to make sure, for one, that the door's working, if disabled people can actually get in and out of it, and to make sure there's soap in the dispenser. I mean, I did a job for a few years where it involved a lot of tasks, one of which was cleaning toilets, and I always took a great deal of pride in it. There's absolutely no reason why a soap dispenser should ever run out of soap. Because you can look at it, you can see it's getting near the bottom, you top it up. Nobody checked that toilet for a long time, I don't think. And, you know, I mean, it's got to be checked every day, just for no other reason, to make sure no poor souls died on the bowl. Just been forgotten about. It's unbelievable. ScotRail, I don't know how they got away with some of the stuff they got away with, because their behaviours is just out of order. If I actually went back and said, and the guy, and there was a lass saying, I said, I can't open my door, and she's saying, did you check I think, check what? The flipping door isn't working. What's wrong with these people? Oh my God. Okay, I've got a pie. I'm going to eat it later because there's something I want to talk about. I got this at a shop in Strathyre. You can buy edibles in there, just a job. I didn't have enough time in Cumberland to buy one of their pies at more, because there was just literally minutes between getting in and the other bus leaving. This might well be one of their pies, in fact. But anyway. I want to talk briefly about the 45 Jacobite rising, rebellion, uprising, whatever you want to call it. When, yet again, another attempt was made to put a Stuart royal back on the British throne. The whole thing was essentially about religion. It was about Catholics and Protestants, because certain Protestant nobility in the British Isles didn't want a Catholic king or queen. Why? I don't know. It's unbelievable stuff. They didn't want a Catholic king or queen. They wanted a Protestant person on the throne. So the Stuart monarch got rid of, told to sling his hook. I think he actually left at one point, but it was made clear that he wasn't welcome. Although I think he did come back with an army. It's such a complicated picture. I can't quite get my head around all of it. There was 3 separate occasions where they tried to put the Stuart monarch back on the throne. This was 1745. The 45 rebellion was the 3rd attempt. And that's what the Jacobite struggle was all about, to put a Stuart back on the throne where they should be. It shouldn't have mattered whether they were Catholic or Protestant, you know. And even today, the current British royal family, laws were passed, I think, by Parliament way back whenever it was, to make sure that a Catholic could not become king or queen. And in this day and age, I find that quite remarkable. And indeed, I blame the British royal family, the current British royal family, in their stance in maintaining this Protestantism. There's always an ism involved. In ensuring that this country is mainly a Protestant country, because they're making sure it is. They don't want a Catholic, certain members of the British Parliament probably still don't want a Catholic monarch, so that law still stands. And I blame the royal family for many of the troubles in this country to do with religion, Catholics and Protestants. Any number of problems have happened as a result of that, and it's their fault. And of course, the final struggle of the 1745 Jacobite rising was the Battle at Culloden, where Jacobites were defeated, and any further thoughts about putting a Stuart back on the British throne were pretty much knocked on the head. And the Duke of Cumberland was in charge of the British Army at Culloden. He was the son of King George III, another German. No business being here. And he earned the nickname Butcher Cumberland for the atrocities that took place in the days after the Battle of Culloden and in the months afterwards throughout 1746, when British soldiers were ordered to search the whole country for Jacobites, to seek them out, search every property, every house and croft. And I'm sure there would have been people, certain people who would have been happy to tell them where certain sympathisers might have been. And if you were found, you would be taken prisoner, you could be imprisoned for a long time, you could be hanged or beheaded, your croft, your property could be torched and burnt to the ground, and if it was a bigger house it could be forfeited or taken back from you and now belong to the crown. Absolutely horrendous. The whole area here, this area and to the north, the whole Highland area was searched, and it was just a terrible time. And while I say that the Jacobite cause was to do with Catholics and Protestants, the actual battle at Culloden was not to do with Catholics and Protestants, because there were Protestants who thought that, wait, this is not right. This person, the Stuarts are the correct monarchs. They should be on the throne. There's a wrong here. It has to be put right. Protestants would have thought that. So you're fighting for the Jacobites at Culloden would have been Catholics, Protestants, Scottish, English. So again, it wasn't a fight between Scotland and England, because you had both Catholics, Protestants, Scottish and English, Welsh, Irish on both sides. And it was such a horrendous situation, the atrocities that took place afterwards, that of all the battles that the British Army has ever fought, Culloden is the one battle that they're not allowed to mention that battle. They're not allowed to mention Culloden in their battle honours, because it was a battle to be pretty ashamed of. British Army were only doing what they were instructed to do. That's what they do. They do what they're told. And it was the Duke of Cumberland, the son of King George III, who instructed them to carry out these atrocities. In 1746, after the Battle of Culloden, when British Army redcoats swept through this area looking for Jacobite sympathisers, my ancestor had to go into hiding. At the time they stayed in a croft in Strathyre. And that wasn't a unique event. Many men all over the country were forced to go into hiding or risk imprisonment, beheading or hanging. And you know, you can read the history books till the cows come home, but you actually see something in black and white that's to do with your ancestors. And I can look at Finlay and see how many generations ago he was. I am related to the man. And he was forced to go into hiding. I don't know where he would have hid. Forestry would have been good, I think. He could have come over this hill into the glen on the other side. There was a township there made up of a number of different steadings. But I suspect that may have been searched by redcoats as well. But, you know, he could have hidden the other side of the road at Strathyre, somewhere over there, I don't know. I'm going to read to you an account that describes the actual moment that the Redcoats arrived here, and the actual moment that they arrived in the croft of my ancestor. Finally, Ferguson was out with Prince Charlie, but took no active part in the rebellion of 1745. When the King's soldiers came to Balquidder in 1746 to look after the followers of Prince Charlie, Finlay was forced to go into hiding, and on the soldiers calling at the house to secure him, he could not be found. His wife refused to tell them where he was, and on the soldiers beginning to abuse her, she complained to their officer, Captain Campbell, that his men were treating her badly. The captain, inquiring if she had any armour belonging to Prince Charlie, she answered in Gaelic, Shaniel Tarig. Apologies for the pronunciation. It means no, not a nail. So he told his men to let the woman alone at once. That's the British Army abusing my ancestor, Catherine Dewar. And you know, of all the atrocities that took place in the months after Culloden, and in fact in the days after Culloden, there is one that kind of touched me really quite severely. It's just the one that kind of really hit home for me, and one that I am also going to read to you just now. I mean, in the days after the defeat of the Jacobites at Culloden, the battlefield was sealed. This was both to make sure nobody got out and to make sure no one got in to witness the atrocities that were about to take place. And those atrocities including bayoneting wounded Jacobites on the field. Then the next day they went to houses around about the battlefield in search of any wounded Jacobites or any that might be hiding. They dragged them out, dragged them back to the battlefield, and again bayoneted them or shot them. They found a large number of Jacobites hiding in a barn with some innocent onlookers who were just curious as to what the battle might look like. They locked the doors of that barn and set it on fire. It's frankly unbelievable, but the one I'm about to read you, it got to me, I think, more than anything else. See if I can find it here. Yeah, here are we. Okay, this comes from, it's by the late Sir Henry Stewart of Allington. It's in Jacobite Memoirs, page 255. And this was immediately after the Battle of Culloden. Riding over the field, attended by some of his officers, the Duke of Cumberland, Butcher Cumberland, observed a young wounded Highlander resting on his elbow and staring at the royal party. He asked the man to whom he belonged and received for answer, to the Prince. He instantly called to an officer to shoot that insolent scoundrel. The officer, Major Wolfe, declined the task, saying that his commission was at the disposal of His Royal Highness, but he could never consent to become an executioner. The Duke asked several other officers in succession to pistol the wounded man, but with the like result. Then, seeing a common soldier, he asked him if he had a charge in his piece, and the man answering in the affirmative, he commanded him to do the required duty, which was immediately performed. The youth thus slain was Mr. Charles Fraser, younger of Inver Allochie, Lieutenant Colonel of the Master of Lovett's Regiment. That's the Duke of Cumberland, Butcher Cumberland, and that was a British royal family. And that is the British royal family. I'm Eddie Burns. Bye for now.